The Boston Celtics just won the NBA Finals. Now, while technically the series is still going on, let's be real for a second. No team in NBA playoff history has ever came back down 0-3 in a series. In fact, there's been 156 teams to go down 0-3, and not a single one could pull off 4 straight wins. Only 4 of these 156 teams forced a Game 7. Most recently, it was the Celtics that did it last year when they went down 0-3 to the 8th seeded Miami Heat. They came all the way back, winning 3 straight to force Game 7, but of course they lost in 7. Real quick, if you're a fan of the NBA, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 3K subs. But let me start this video off by saying this is one of the most boring finals ever. Now, I'm a huge fan of the NBA. This season in particular, I've probably been the most into the NBA that I have my whole life. But I want some competitive games, and I know there's been times where the games are close, but it's looking like it's about to be a Celtics sweep. The Mavs just look outmatched. Now, we're going to talk about all that in this video, but talking about most boring finals, I put out a tweet saying that this is like the most boring finals I've ever seen since I've been alive. And people were saying, you know, the Nuggets Heat finals last year was pretty boring. I don't know, that was a little boring. That one's definitely up there, but at least the Heat stole a game. Like, can the Mavs win a game? I don't know. They should. Hopefully they win Game 4 and the series extends, because I'm not ready for the NBA season to be over. Some people were saying maybe the KD Warriors versus Cavs finals was more boring, but I don't really agree with that, because at least we were watching Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and LeBron going at it in the finals that we kind of knew who was going to win. But still, it was all those star caliber players, whereas right now we have Jason Tatum. He's one of the more boring superstars, I would say. And we have Luca, who's kind of one of the more entertaining ones, but the Mavs are going to get swept, so it doesn't really matter. Well, maybe they don't get swept, but the series is pretty much over is what I'm trying to say. And talking about how this series is already over because it's 0-3, let's be honest, the Mavs are just not going to be the first team to ever come back down 0-3 in an NBA playoff series. I mean, just think about it. Just look at the numbers, look at the stats. The Celtics have been the #1 team in the entire NBA all season, including the playoffs. They have an insane record, 64-18 in the regular season, and then in the postseason, I think they're about to go 16-2. And if you're just watching the games like I am, you know, like, they're so fundamentally sound, like they're so good as a unit together that, yeah, maybe the Mavs win Game 5, maybe they win 6, but are the Mavs about to win 4 games against, I'm not gonna say one of the best teams of all time, but like statistically they're up there. Like, I'll put them like top 20-ish, like they're in the realm, right? Like, this is just not the team that's gonna lose 4 straight, you know what I'm saying? I think it's gonna happen. I think someone will come back down 0-3, you know, in my lifetime, maybe next year, maybe, you know, within the next 5 years, but it's just not this series. You know what I mean? The Mavs, should they even be here? Who knows? If they ran into the Nuggets, maybe the Nuggets would have taken them out, but of course we know what happened with the Nuggets, how they ran into the T-Wolves. We'll get into that, but I want to be the first one to admit, because if you guys have been watching this channel, you probably already know, but I was wrong, and I should have. I knew it. I said it in the video when I was making my predictions when the finals matchup, you know, was set. I said I have the Mavs winning, but I'm probably wrong. Like, I should have just looked at the numbers. It was obvious that the Celtics were the better team and we're gonna win, but I'm just dumb. What can I say? And all throughout the year, my pick was Nuggets. Now, I would always make predictions, you know, predicting the rest of the season, including the playoffs, before we even knew who was gonna be in the playoffs, and I always kind of had the Nuggets winning, but the Celtics were always there. Like, sometimes I'd send the Clippers to the finals, like that one time during, you know, pre-All-Star break when the Clippers were red hot. I think they won, like, I don't know, like they were like 16-4 in a 20-game stretch, something like that. Harden was cooking, PG, Kawhi, they were looking crazy. But again, with that team, they're older. They have, you know, injury-prone players. It just didn't work out for the Clippers. I also had the Nuggets. That was my main pick this year. But the Celtics were the team that I always had going to the finals in the East, but I only had them winning one time. That was when I made a prediction video on January 30th. I had Celtics over Clippers in 7. But other than that prediction, I probably made like 4 or 5 different prediction videos. I almost always had the Nuggets winning, but we know what happened with the Nuggets. They ran into the Timberwolves, who are basically perfectly built to beat the Nuggets, with Jokic, the big man. You know, he's the focal point of that Nuggets team. And the T-Wolves have Depoy Rudy Gobert, which I know some people are making fun of him, including me on Twitter. I like to make jokes during the series, so I'm not hating. It might look like that on Twitter if you follow me, but Rudy, he had his moments, like when Luca hit that step back 3 on him. I know he's not really a perimeter defender, but Rudy, Cat, Naz Reid, they're a pretty big physical team. They are the perfect team to beat the Nuggets. Now, if the Nuggets were to play the Mavs, who knows? You know, maybe the Nuggets are the one that's in the NBA Finals, and maybe I would say this would be a closer series. That was the final series that I thought was going to be inevitable all year. Nuggets versus Celtics. But the T-Wolves, props to them. They shocked me a little bit because, again, I thought the Nuggets were going to go, but they took them out. Mavs played, you know, a tired T-Wolves team, if you want to say that. Took them out, got through the finals, Luca's first finals. It's looking bad. Now, as someone that makes videos on the NBA, during the games when I'm watching them, I'm always, you know, taking little notes, or I'm thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to say in my video, or this is what I can make the video about. And the Celtics in the fourth quarter, like 10 minutes left, they were up by 21 points with 10 minutes left. And I'm like, okay, this series is over. The Celtics are about to embarrass the Mavs and they're going to be up 3-0. It's clipped. But then all of a sudden, again, 10 minutes left, Mavs down 21. They go on a 20-2 run. It might have been 20-3, but regardless, they go on a crazy run. All of a sudden, it's a 3-point game. They're right there. They are right there. A few minutes go by, a few plays go by, Luca fouls out of the game. And this brings me to a whole nother topic. If you've been on Twitter, if you've been looking into the whole NBA world, you probably have already seen people talking about it. It's Luca Doncic complaining to the refs. And he did it a lot in that first series against the Clippers, I believe it was. And everyone was mad at him. They're saying, bro, stop whining, just play. And in this game, to me, especially late in the game, it felt like every single play, offensively and defensively, Luca was looking for a foul. Like if he was playing defense and someone would, you know, bump into him, he'd like look at the ref, like trying to get a foul. Or especially offensively, whenever Luca would drive in or do anything, he would look at the ref. If Luca drove in for a layup and missed a layup, he's immediately looking at the ref saying something. It's just, honestly, I'm a big Luca fan. I'm a fan of like all the stars in the NBA for real. But Luca's gotta stop this whining. He's gotta stop this. It really looks like he's just looking for a foul every single play. And there was a time where Jason Tatum went up for a layup or maybe a dunk or whatever and genuinely got slapped crazy on the wrist. I don't know how it wasn't a foul call. And then Luca went down, took a layup, and he might have got fouled, but Luca was pissed about that. But I think they were just evening it up because the refs knew they should have called a foul on Tatum. So it was like, if there's a little contact, we're just going to let him play. But still, there was some bad calls in this game, but it just looks like Luca's looking for a foul every single play. I got to mention it. Kyrie Irving finally showed up. He had 35 points in this one. In games 1 and 2, I don't think he hit a three-pointer, which that's concerning because Kyrie, pretty solid three-point shooter. I'm not saying he's coming out and shooting, you know, 12 threes a game and that's his main, you know, offensive impact or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But still, no threes in the first 2 games of the NBA Finals. Maybe he had 1, but still, he just wasn't impactful really at all in the first 2 games. Game 3, I kind of knew it. Back at home in Dallas, you know, he's a player that plays better at home. You can look into the numbers. I think he averages like 27 at home and like 24 on the road. Kyrie hooped, but it might be too little too late because they're down 0-3. And still, Kyrie putting up 35, Luca putting up 27, and you still can't win. Now, you could put up as much as you want, right? You could score 70 points. One player, Kyrie, Luca, whoever. Luca could score 70, but if you're not going to play defense, it doesn't matter. Luca Doncic's defense has been terrible in this series. If you've been watching the games, he's getting blown by every single play. If I find the stat, I'll pop it up on the screen, but there's a crazy stat. Like he has been blown by more than like any player like in NBA history or something crazy. Like every single game, players are just going at him. They're just driving past him. It's almost like he's not even there, not even trying. So Luca down the line in the future, I hope he can adapt and become a better defensive player because this shit is just not going to fly. It just isn't. It's not going to work. He's gonna have to try hard on defense. I know he's doing so much offensively, but he's got to lock in more on defense. Something else I noticed that I want to say is there was too much Tim Hardaway Jr. He played 19 minutes in this game and it makes no sense. I talked about it last video after game 2 because in pregame game 2, Michael Wilbon, one of the ESPN analysts, I believe he's ESPN, he said the key to the Mavs winning is Tim Hardaway Jr. He's got to get going. But if you've been watching the games, Tim doesn't really play. I think in the first series he played a little bit, but Tim Hardaway Jr. has kind of been played out of the rotation. So that made me question, is Wilbon even watching the games? Some of these analysts, their credibility kind of gone out the window for me, this season. But 19 minutes for Tim Hardaway Jr., 0 points, 0 for 5. Too much Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't get it. He played 7 minutes last game. Maybe you can give him 10, maybe a little more, keep experimenting. But 19, where Derrick Jones Jr. only had 16 minutes. Derrick Jones Jr. has been playing like 30 minutes a game for them in the playoffs. He's been a key piece for them, and he only got 60. Tim Hardaway Jr. had more minutes than Derrick Jones Jr. It doesn't make sense. Maxi Kleber, had 8 minutes in this one, and I've been saying the Maxi, if I see more Maxi Kleber minutes, I'm gonna lose it. I said that last video. I've been putting out tweets about it because in game 2, I think it was, maybe it was game 1, I think it was 2, he was bricking. He was just uncontrollable. He's not even really playing defense. It's bad. It's bad for him. And something else I want to say, I'm a Warriors fan. I'm wearing the Warriors shirt. Shout out my boy Klay Thompson. But Draymond Green, right? When you're versing the Warriors and Draymond Green hits a 3. Now this year it was a little bit different because Draymond was hitting 3s at a higher clip. But in the past, if you're versing the Warriors and Draymond's knocking down 3s, 1 3, 2 3s, whatever, you're kind of screwed, right? This man, Xavier Tillman, subbed into the game, of course, because Kristaps didn't play. They needed a little, bigs. They need some bigs, big depth. And Tillman subs in. Xavier Tillman knocked down a corner 3. When I saw that, I was like, oh, the Celtics won. When you have Xavier Tillman hitting a 3, you're screwed. You're just screwed. That was his first 3 of the playoffs. I don't know how many he's hit in the regular season. Can't be too many, if any. Tillman's hitting a 3, you're done. Something else I want to say is that the toughest defender for Luca on the Celtics has been Al Horford. I think he's making Luca shoot like 4 for 17, while Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they are just okay at guarding Luca. Maybe not even that good, but Al Horford, for whatever reason, when he gets switched on to Luca, he's playing some really good one-on-one defense, and they've been trying to get that switch a lot. That's something that I've been thinking, because early in the series, they kept going at Jason Tatum. Like, they kept switching on to Jason Tatum, and that was not working because Tatum can match up with centers. He can match up with most guards. That's just not good. So in my mind, I'm thinking, why aren't they going for Al Horford, just setting a screen on? But Horford has actually been playing really good defense on Luca, surprisingly. So the Celtics are probably going to win this series, whether it's 4-0, 4-1, 4-2, whatever it is. We got to talk about the Finals MVP, because this is a big thing. It's history, it's a legacy. All that stuff is on the line. We saw with Steph Curry in his first finals when Andre Iguodala got the Finals MVP. That was a huge thing for years. And Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, in my mind, are kind of neck and neck right now for Finals MVP. I think it's going to come down to game 4. If Jason Tatum goes for 40, he's going to get it. If Jaylen Brown goes for 40, he's going to get it. We're going to have to see, because I think a lot of people are expecting Jaylen Brown to get it right now. But in my mind, I think it's Tatum by a little. But again, it comes down to game 4. But Tatum, although he wasn't scoring much in games 1 and 2, he was crashing crazy on the glass, getting a lot of boards. His playmaking has been off the charts in this series. His defense has been solid. I think it's a lot closer than people think. So we're gonna have to see what happens in game 4. Sub up if you guys haven't. We're on the road to 3K subs. But I just want to say, this might be my last video talking about this current season, because this series might be over, and I just might move on to some draft content, some off-season content. I got a lot of big things planned, a lot of videos I've been just planning and working on. I think this summer, although there's not going to be basketball, the content is going to be fire on this channel. So sub up. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.